Hi, how are you doing? This is Pastor Cheryl. Today we are doing the parable of the lost son. We've been doing like the lost coin, the lost sheep, the lost, we could connected that with the lost puppy dog. So now we are doing the parable of the lost son, or we call it the prodigal son. Luke 15:11 through, and it's a whole page here, all the way down to 31. A man had 2 sons. The younger of them said to his father, "Give me the share of the estate I have coming to me." So he distributed the assets to them. Not many days later, the younger son gathered together all he had and traveled to a distant country. How many kids would do that? Where he squandered his estate in foolish living. Just like a kid, like a teenager. Spent everything, and a severe famine struck that country, and he had nothing. Then he went to work for one of the citizens of the country, who sent him to the fields to feed pigs. That was kind of a humility type thing. That was one of those things that you just, it was kind of a joke back then with the Jewish people feeding pigs. He longed to eat his fill from the pods, that means seed pods, that the pigs were eating, but no one would give him anything. When he came to his senses, he said, "How many of my father's hired workers have more than enough food, and here I am dying of hunger? I'll get up and go to my father and say to them, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and in your sight. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired workers.' So he got up, went to his father, but while the son was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion, and he ran and threw his arms around his neck and kissed him. And the son said to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and in your sight.'" That's like a practice sort of speech, right? "I'm no longer worthy to be called your son." But then the father told the servants, "Quick, bring out the best robe and put it on him, and put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet, and bring the fattened calf and slaughter it, and let's celebrate with a feast. Because the son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found." So they began to celebrate. Now his older son in the field, as he came near the house, heard the music and dancing. So he summoned one of his servants, questioning what these things meant. "Your brother is here," he told him, "and your father has slaughtered the fattened calf because he has him back safe and sound." Then he became angry and didn't want to go in. So his father came out and pleaded with him. But he replied to his father, "Look, I have been slaving many years for you, and I have never disobeyed your orders, yet you never gave me as much as a goat so that I could celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours came, who has devoured your assets," notice he said son of yours instead of my brother. It's your son, right? Instead of my brother. Okay, "he has devoured your assets with prostitutes. You slaughter the fattened calf for him." "Son," he said to him, "you are always with me, and everything I have is yours. But we had to celebrate and rejoice because this brother of yours was dead and is alive again. He was lost, and now he's found." This reminds me again of my neighbor who lost her child. A little 2-year-old little girl died. And every time that kid's birthday came around, she'd come over to the house crying. And she did this quite a few times, every time for years. And she'd come over with these wrinkled photographs of this little girl that looked just like her. And she would cry and cry and cry. And finally, one day, she learned that her son, her youngest son, got some fellow high school kid pregnant. And then she was so upset that her hair literally fell out in handfuls. And when the baby was born, it looked just like the little girl that died. Her daughter was lost, right? She was dead. And then came back. Depends on whether or not you believe in reincarnation. It was actually written out of the Bible. If you get into real scholastic stuff about the Bible, yeah, they think it was kind of written out. You might not believe it, but yeah, that's what the scholars say. And you kind of wonder about those things, don't you? We kind of wonder. But this reminds me of this little girl. And she's grown up now with her own kids. But as soon as that child was born, our neighbor stopped crying. That's a good thing. It was a really good thing for her because she couldn't have kids anymore, and then her son produced a child, and she became a grandma, and it's just like it healed her soul. It was very important, and we all noticed. Those of us who knew her, we all noticed. But I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.